we are back for Permission Talk episode number 4. And I'm telling you, we've been having a good time.
Yeah.
I got my sis Keisha here and Janaya as well. Again, for the 4th time. God has really been blessing us through this conversation. Not just for you, but I feel like it's been a really good time for us to kick back, catch up, but really be transparent and authentic about just kind of different things we're going through. And so I preached a message really recently called Have a Seat. If you have not seen it, you need to go to my YouTube, Dr. Jackie Green, and I'm telling you, it will bless your life, especially for all my mamas out there, all my business women out there, all my single ladies out there handling a whole lot in life. God is helping us understand how we are to manage all that he's placed in our hand. Many times, many things that are a blessing, but also some of the things that we might have walked ourselves into that he had nothing to do with. Either way, his invitation is for us to have a seat. And so we're going to kind of push into that a little bit more by having a conversation about, sis, you can't do it all. And so we're going to jump in by kind of doing a little icebreaker for y'all to get to know us a little bit better. And then we'll talk.
All right. So if this season of your life was a book title, what would you name it?
A book title.
Ooh, it would be, oh God.
Oh, God.
It would be like Lord.
Not Lord.
Lord, I need
Dio.
your strength. Yeah, I think it'd be like, Lord, I need your strength. And then like the subtitle would be like, how to be strong during challenging seasons or something like that. I don't know.
I like that.
I need some explanation. Like,
What is that about?
Right.
It's been stretching. My husband and I, we are buying a home.
Come on.
Yes. Hopefully by the time this airs, we will be already closed and all of that.
Yes.
But it's been stretching our faith and has brought me to the place of, I guess, my greatest weakness, because it's like so much stuff out of our hands. So it's like, I need the Lord's strength. Like, Lord, if you don't come through, like, I need you to kind of like pick me up and take me through this season, because I ain't got it. So that's the current season.
I love it.
PJ?
I would say, daughter, you got this. I think it's the continuing affirming word that the Lord keeps giving me, because I'm in one of those new seasons, like when a child learns to walk. It's like, I've never done this before, and God keeps championing, like, you can do this. I'm right here. I got your hand. So it's one of those things where I'm being reminded often, like, I'm a daughter, and I'm a daughter of a king. And so with everything that I walk into, although it's unknown for me, he knows about it. And so he's just continuing to help me, like put my full weight on it.
You got it.
I got it. I got it. I can do it with him.
I would be something like keep pressing, or it's like lame, but like,
Is it lame?
I don't know. I was trying to think of something clever.
If I could just press.
Yeah, if I could just press. That's the name of my book. If I could just press, because I'm like in this season where I'm like trying to, like, I literally told you last night, like, I'm trying not to fall asleep after prayer. Like, I'm trying to just steward my time better, and it's literally like me pressing past my defaults. And so I'm just learning how to not stop at what I would usually do, but continue to like press on, to see what God has for me on the other side. So
I would love to know, ladies, what would the title of your season be? I would love to see it in the comments. I'm sure it's going to be some funny stuff. So can't wait to read it.
Yep.
All right. Well, it's time to jump into the discussion for today. Okay. And so to kick us off, I want to know, do you think as women we can do and have it all? Like, is there a world?
Okay.
Is there a world
in
which we can juggle all of the different things in life and we can really have it all?
So I think it kind of really depends on how you define all.
Okay.
Lots of times we will determine all by what the world says in terms of like, they set the standard for this amount of money means all, this amount of status and career means all. I really believe there isn't all that God has provided in terms of what he saw when he saw you where you are. And I do believe inside of that, yes, you can handle and manage all of that. It will take the God that has orchestrated or authored that chapter of your life life to be able to do it. But I believe what he spoke and what he saw you can have. I believe where we get worn out or where there are moments where we start to crumble is sometimes when we're adding on our boat things that we think are good ideas or things that the world said that we need in order to be certain things. I think when you recognize that your value is not attached to what you have, but who you are, you're not trying to carry more than the Father said for the season. I'll give you an example. I think about in one season of my life, my cousin said to me, like, you went to school all this time for dentistry. Like, there's no way I could not be doing dentistry if I went to school 8 years. And in one facet, I would think that the only way I would be carrying all is if I was carrying this a professional degree that I have. I'm not doing dentistry right now, and I still feel like I have it all because I believe that I am living in the fullness of what the Father said for me for this particular season. Did he give me dentistry to be a part of my story? Absolutely. Does he have to use every part of what he gave you in every season of your life? He does not. And so I think it's been really helpful for me to understand that there were some seasons where I did do more executive pastoring, and sometimes I didn't. There were times where I was more mommy than I was said other thing. And so I'm just trying to say that I believe for what God has ordained for this chapter or season of your life to be, he has a way to help you to manage that stuff without you feeling like you're missing anything, but walking in the fullness of what he said. So
what would y'all say to the woman? Because I think when we think about like having it all or, you know, balancing all these things, we often think that there's something that has to go without. Like there's something that has to be forfeited. Like I can't be a good, like if I'm in school, I can't be a good student and good to my family at the same time. I can't be a good wife and a good mom at the same time. Like, what would y'all say to the woman who's like, dang, like I'm trying, but like it feels like one part of my life is gonna have to go without. I think a lot of times we forget like that God, you know, he gives us these things with the intention that we'll be able to steward it all, and so we think if we're going off our own strength, something's gonna have to, you know, shake. And so what would y'all say to that person?
I would definitely say it has a lot to do with prioritization with the Lord. I think stewardship is everything. So if you think about the time we waste, right? I believe that a lot of times the reason why some parts of our life are being mismanaged is because we're not utilizing the hour that we could have gotten up early, or we're not using the 30 minutes that we waste just scrolling. And that's not to say that you don't need times of refreshing or times to just chill and pull back where you're not doing something specific. But I do believe we waste a lot of time and we lack a lot of discipline to do more than we could do if we were more disciplined. And so, for instance, I could say I can't do Spanish and exercise and take care of my children and do podcasts and show up to preach and show up to be a wife and blah, 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 blah. I am doing all of those things, and I would say in this season I'm doing them more effectively simply because I'm taking them before the Lord. I'm also saying where I am doing some of those things, I can't do them as much as someone else would. So I think it has a lot to do with, I will do a lot of the things or a variety of things, but I may not do them as much as someone else would. And so, for instance, we have one family day a week. Maybe some people have 3. And I'm okay with having one. Not to say that I don't spend time with my children outside of the one day. It's one focused, intentional day, if that makes sense. And so I'm okay with the allotment that I have for the various different things that he's given me to help me be able to manage more and a variety of more things at one time. So I hope that helps to some degree.
And I love what you said about prioritization, because I feel like I'm actively walking through that right now. And the other part where you were talking about like being able to discern what all looks like for your life, it helps your mindset. So for instance, in a different season, especially when we were trying to get into the church, I know I was a lot more focused on being like an executive pastor and all of that, but I've been feeling God call me to be more focused on like our financial things. Like I said, we're trying to buy a home, and understanding because he sets that priority that although I may not be spending like all day and night up here doing different things for the church, that it's not suffering.
It's not lack.
It's not lack
so
because
good.
he set the priority, and I know I'm giving that what he's allotted me to do. Like I'm being obedient in whatever. So if you tell me to do this, and that, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna try to go above and beyond because, like you mentioned, trying to compare myself with such and such is doing this or the other person's doing that. Their season, may look different and what God is calling them to kind of like strengthen or do more of. And so I think being able to have the mind of that, like from the suffering standpoint, it doesn't have to suffer if I'm being obedient.
That's good.
Like if I'm prioritizing I'm discerning according to what he's laid out, then it's not lack. It'll be enough. It'll be enough. It'll be enough. And I have to trust that it'll be enough through whatever season and not try to do more, because that's when you get wore out. And so, yeah, I loved all of that about prioritizing and also discerning what all looks like and being okay with that and knowing and changing my mindset that it's not suffering if I'm being obedient to the Lord.
I want to add something, because one of the reasons why it is hard for us to add more to our life has a lot to do with that we get married to the old version of ourselves. So we were in this last season and we gave, to Keisha's point, 30 hours to this. And if it moves to 25, then all of a sudden something's wrong. Well, you're not recognizing that although that changed in a number of hours, you picked up 3 other things that the Father has added to you because you were faithful there, how he asked you to in the last season. And your ability to break the box of last season to create a new season, that's why it's called new, because newness creates difference. Difference doesn't have to be bad. And I think oftentimes we equate difference to being something bad, and it doesn't have to be.
No.
Being open to the Father wanting to do something new. It's just like when it changes from winter, summer, spring, and fall. They all have different attributes, but they are all necessary. Do we miss anything in the winter? We don't. We get what we need in the winter, no different than we do the summer, spring, and fall. And so I think allowing our seasons of our life to change the same way we see regular seasons out there, knowing that every season brings a new thing that we need, is helpful.
That's good. And it actually brings like to our next question. You said something in your message that you're not as interested in being booked and busy as you are fruitful and effective. And I want to dive into that a little bit, because that's something that I struggle with. Even like over the past couple of years of like going from like being an executive assistant, I started doing a lot of busy work. Like it was a lot of busy work. Like I would, write the stuff that take me hours, or I would put together these systems. It took me a long, like amounts of time. And over the past couple of years, you've taught me how to be a leader and like not just be able to get stuff done myself, but like pull on other people. Like, hey, can you help me do it? Even just yesterday, I was like, I told the woman of God, I was like, so yeah, I got to drive 2 hours today to go pick up these things. And she was just like, baby, that is not the best use of your time. Like that's like somebody, like find somebody to do that for you so that you can put your focus on being effective in other ways, because there are certain things that only you can do. That I remember in previous seasons where I would just try to stay busy and be doing all these other things just to fill my time up, but then I get to the end of the day and I'm tired, exhausted. So it's just like talk about that a little bit more about, it's not always about being busy. It's about being effective.
When I think about booked and busy, right, you think of a calendar full of a lot of different tasks and a lot of different dates, so to speak. When you see a calendar full, it doesn't mean that it's full of something that is fruitful, right? And I think that that's where the misnomer happens. Just because the calendar is full, it doesn't mean that it equates to something that is effective or fruitful. And the Lord desires, and even when he births us with the desire for us to be fruitful and multiply, for us to become effective in the earth. And I think it's one of the places I land the most, because to your point, I've seen my life be full of a lot of stuff, but not be yielding new levels of transformation and new levels of growth, or actually creating lasting impact in the earth. I've done a lot of stuff that didn't produce a lasting impact, and what generally causes lasting impact is something that is rooted deep into something that can continually grow and continue to give. The only way you see continuation is if you dig deep enough to cause the roots of whatever started you to show up in someone else. And so when I tell you things like delegation or become a greater leader, I'm giving you the root of learning how to get with the Father and say, God, what is it that you're saying that only I can do? I'm passing along what you can't see on the surface that will live underneath, that will cause you to continue to yield. And that doesn't just show up in one area, which is what causes it to be fruitful. It's a principle that you can apply in every aspect of your life. And so that's why I am pushing women to not just look at having a calendar full. even if it's space to be able to look and have vision, that can become a principle that will cause you to go further faster than so much busyness and chaos that you can't even hear the Lord. And so I believe rest, space, deeper work in margin and underbedding to where the Father's able to actually do inner work that produces a greater harvest. It's generally the stuff that you don't see that yields the greatest harvest. And so, you know, when people are just running around and doing all this stuff, a lot of times they're not actually showing anything that's going to last underneath the ground. And so that's kind of where I think when I think about being fruitful and effective.
It was difficult for me transitioning, like you were saying, like into a leadership position, because again, everybody hypes up being busy, and it's like, okay, so what are you doing with your week? I'm just busy doing this and that. But when I had to transition into a lot more of my time look like just meetings and being okay with accepting that can be fruitful and changing your mindset. I think the biggest issue that we just have is just breaking societal norms of what it is. And if we can just really lean into that, then I think it would free us so much from feeling weighted or feeling like we have to do more in order to, you know, make things happen or just be running around. Like, it's so hard for our souls to just rest. And the more, like you said, we can create margin and just actively do that, then it's just amazing. But that's something that I did struggle with transitioning to more of a leadership position, with just being like, it just looks different. And that's okay, because if I'm being obedient and I'm being effective in what he's called me to do, then it's enough. So,
I think about the things in my life that have yielded the most effect or yielded the most impact. I think about Permission Conference. I think about my marriage. I think about even things like Permission World. Like, those things came out of a place of rest. A lot of the things that I think people saw on the outside happened when people were never looking. And I think that can be a metric by which, if you're trying to figure out, are you just literally on this like hamster wheel trying to do a whole bunch of stuff for people to see, versus taking time with the Lord for him to do a lot of work in you that will yield a greater harvest and a more lasting effect. You can look to see if you're doing a lot of things behind the scenes with the Lord that will ultimately show for people, versus doing a lot of stuff for people and then you get home and the behind the scenes is pretty empty. It can be a really good metric for you to kind of see which realm or way you're living.
How do you sit down? Because like you mentioned, you preached about this, like about having a seat when it seems like everybody else is vying for your time. Like, how do you create that margin if you are like an executive assistant and you're already pulled, and it not feel like I can't stop? Like, if people are like, I can't, like, I'm not trying to be busy, but my life is just so hectic and everybody needs something. How did you create that space or decide that it was important enough for Jackie to have a seat in order for you to be able to produce everything that God had placed in your heart?
What generally causes change is a negative effect of doing the wrong thing. I got to one season in my life where I remember I had this long discussion with this group of people, and I had poured out, and it felt very fruitful in the moment. And I had been poured, and it was a day I had set aside for rest. And I remember getting on the side of my bed like, this was the one day that I had for me to just pull away and to pour into myself. But I gave it away to something that I mean, that was good. It wasn't bad. And I think that's the thing that trips us up. It's not always that what the pull is going to be bad. It's, did God ask for that today? And your protection. So for instance, you ask how I do it. Now my phone goes off at 10 unless it's something specific I have to tell my assistant. I'm not having, if you call me after 10 or you text me after 10, I'll get to you tomorrow. I've learned how to say no, so to speak, or this can wait, because I am confident that I'm a good person. Like, I really love my children. I really love the people that I'm in relationship with. A lot of times when I was going above and beyond, it was out of striving to prove something that I don't feel like I have to prove anymore.
So good.
Man, I cannot tell you how freeing that is. Like, there were times where I showed up here for meetings that I didn't feel like I had to be a part of because I want the staff to know that I'm invested in them. I don't have to prove that anymore. I'm invested in you all, but I don't have to do an action to prove it. And so it's helped me to actually stay seated and rested and knowing, like, I'm a good daughter, I'm a good mom, I'm doing enough, and as I obey, it's enough. I don't live from the perspective of not enough or lack anymore. I've accepted the fact that as I am in obedience, it's enough, and it's changed everything.
It always comes back to only obedience.
It does.
It always comes back. I think there's like this story where, we get to heaven and you look at God and be like, I did this and I saved 1,000 people. Yeah, in your name, I saved 1,000 people and I did this and I had all these mentorship programs and I did this. And God was like, I just called you to be a mom.
That's what I
like
learned.
that's what, and like your children have went without because this is what I've called you to do. Like you have to wake up and be like, God, what is it? We have to acknowledge him. What is it that you want me to do today? And do that. And that's where your fruit is. Not in doing all of these things to make it seem, especially when it's for other people. Trying to prove to other people that you're getting stuff done and all this kind of stuff. That's why I took like a real hiatus from social media for a long time. So I'm just like, I'm doing this for y'all.
someone else.
Like I'm literally doing this to make other people feel like, oh, Janiyah out there killing it. Like
I am okay.
I am okay. Like I'm actually getting real stuff done. I don't have to prove, like you said, I don't have to prove to people that, like I have busy days or my days are full. I get Starbucks in the morning because I need energy to like, it's just, like once it comes down to it, really checking like your heart and why you even want to be busy.
That's
like
good.
why you even want to like compare yourself to other people. Like that's what it really comes down to. And I want to talk about that too, like comparing busyness.
Okay.
Like we just kind of like went through this, me and you, because I'm just like, I'm single, almost 26, but I have a full life, and I would sometimes feel like, because I know all that you carry, like feel like I can never say like, oh, I'm tired, or I feel exhausted, or I just need a couple hours of sleep. I'm like the woman of God don't get a lot of sleep. I can't complain about my sleep. Like how, I know you encouraged me in that moment. Like, can we talk about that too? Just like comparing my busy to your busy.
I think that it's vitally crucial to understand that we're all individuals. We're specific creations, custom made for a specific amount of weight in every different season. There's a pastor friend of ours, Jimmy Rollins, that said something to Travis and I that changed my life. He said that if I ever get to the point where I'm really tired, my staff is double tired because they're not made to carry the amount of weight that God has created me to carry. And it was eye-opening for me because I never really thought about that. If I am at the point where God has expanded me to be able to oversee you all, he's given me greater capacity in this season to carry more. And that means that you also in your season have as much. If I am busy, that means that you're triple busy because you're doing all the things that ensure that I can do all the things that I have to do. Same from the instance from her as an executive pastor for this ministry. In order for all the different things to keep running and be efficient, for us to get on stage and be able to do all we have to do, she has to do triple the work, her alongside her other executive counterparts, to ensure that all of this goes well. And so to discount the weight of what you all feel because it's not my weight would be to almost be ignorant to the specificity and precision of the Father, because he made Janiyah, Keisha, Jackie very different with very different bents and the ability and capacity that he wanted for each of you all in the different seasons to be different. What was heavy for me in last season is not the same as what is heavy for me in this season. And I think giving yourself the grace to say, I might not have Jackie's weight, but Janiyah's weight is still valuable and necessary and worthy to be talked about. It's freeing and liberating. It's not the same, but it is still weighty. And I think it's good to be able to acknowledge that and in freedom do that.
Yeah, it's something I'm very passionate about because although I'm married now, I spent the majority of my whole 20s being single.
Sure.
And I was like, Lord, like my life is still full. And I think, like you said, it comes down to capacity and understanding and accepting it and being very vocal about it, of like, okay, so although I may not have a husband, I may not have kids and stuff, but I still have things like travel. Like there's still things that I
It's
love.
different weight.
It's just different, and it's just different margin that I want to be able to create in my life, in my space, to be able to do the things that are on my heart to do.
Sure.
And not be like, oh, because you're single, you got all the time in the world and
And
you
it's
ain't got
not
nothing. And it's not true. And I think even giving space for people to understand and like to hear, to be like, no, your life is still full and it matters, and it's not on pause or on hold until you get kids or until you get a husband. But like whatever God has placed in your life right now, like it can be like, it's weighty for you. Sure. And it matters. And it matters that that it's seen and it's understood and it's felt. I don't know, but it was just something that is carried with me even as I've, you know, transitioned into being married. When I do talk to my single people, you know, to be like, no, like there's a lot happening in your life, and it's okay to be like, it's a lot happening, and you don't have to compare it to everybody.
And make apology for it. You don't have to make apology for it. I love that she talked about being vocal about it because it's real. Like, I mean, I think about even Keisha, I walked really closely with her in her singlehood. Like, she was very, very intent on making sure that she understood who she was. That's a responsibility that many people in marriage don't get anymore, if that makes sense. Or it's a different thing. Like, now you're having to learn to other people, but it doesn't absolve the fact that she was learning and developing and exploring the realities of what the Father was calling for her in the moment. And so I just think that it's beautiful that you're bringing it to the table and giving eyes to the woman out there that feels unseen or feels like I can't even say I'm tired or what I'm doing doesn't matter. It matters. And I love that you're even living life in a way that you live in fullness, that you're able to get to the place where like, this was a lot. This was a full day, God. Like, that you're not sitting on your hands just waiting for next, but you're living now in a way that next will find you, you know?
And I think, too, like, look at your godly examples, like, in a positive way. I went through a season 2 of, like, saying to myself, like, if I'm tired now, there's no way I'm going to ever be able to be married or have kids if I'm tired right now. And it used to, like, press on me like in a negative way. Like, it used to make me feel like I'll never get there because I can't even manage all that I have right now. Like, I cannot imagine. But I think a lot of like what you said about, like, you know, godly examples are godly examples. Like, along the path, like, God will continue to increase your capacity to get there. It's not meant to discourage you. Like, it's meant to encourage you, like, that one day, like, you'll be able to produce at that level. It's not gonna happen overnight, but like, you'll be able to get there. Like, don't let it used to weigh on me. Yeah, like, it's not supposed to be looked at as like a limitation or like, you know, fear even to get to that place. Like, let it be an encouragement for you.
And I really want to make clear the season you're in is building the capacity for the next season, because I think about when we managed LeGrand, we were just renters, which was our old facility for our church. It was, I mean, 5 times smaller than this. And what we learned there gave us the ability to manage where we are. And so it's not even just single or married. It can be, you know, one level of ministry to the next level of ministry. He's always creating in us the preparation for the next thing that we are to do, which is why the season you're in is so important to manage well with the Father, so that he can give you the ability to manage more in the next season. You would have told me, I mean, flat out to my face, there's no way you could have managed overseeing permission conference at one season, and you did it and passed with flying colors alongside a team of people. I'm saying that to say that's no different than marriage. That's no different than the next thing that the Father's calling you into. He always makes sure you're prepared for next. He's a prepared God, and he's your dad that's always walking you into the next. He's a good shepherd, so he's not going to lead you into a place that you're not prepared for.
Really good.
So we touched on it earlier, but I want to kind of just really speak to the root cause of feeling like that you have to do it all. And you were talking about like not being settled in like identity, basically. And so you're trying to do it for the sake of being accepted or approved. Can you speak to just how to kill it once and for all? Like, because I know that there's a switch that went off in your head that's like not, you know, like you probably have moments, but not like am I, you know, but how do we kill that thing? Like, what helped you in that switch of making that change?
It's 2 things. I will say it is a constant thing that you have to put on the altar, because the society says the opposite all day long. Like on TV, it's always the busy person. It's always the booked and busy. It's on social media, it's always the person that's out here getting it. Like, the early bird gets the worm. Like, it's always this thing or this paradigm that's pushed. And so 2 things, reading literature. And so, like, for instance, books like You Are Beloved, or things like that speak to freedom and where true identity comes from, it reminds you of a different way. The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry was another book that really came for this idea that I don't have to live life rushed. And the truth is, true strength and settledness and confidence is shown in relaxation. That's the true place of power. It's not the person running all around with chaos and like a chicken with their head cut off. It's the person that's just walking in life relaxed and rested in who the Father is. I feel like that is a continual thing, which is a second thing that if it's not by books that I read, it's also by me walking with the Lord daily. He reminds me every day, baby, you're doing okay. Baby, you're good at what you do. That's why I even said that was the name of my book. Like, daughter, you got this. Like, he tells me that every day. And not only does he tell me that, I have coaches like Pastor Matthew. Pastor Mona sent me a voice memo this morning reminding me, like, daughter, you're doing a great job. Like, every time you speak like it'll be the last time you speak. And I love your passion. I love your fire. My husband reminds me of that all the time. Like, man, baby, you're killing it as a mom. You need voices to champion that they see you and what you're doing. You need like a great cloud of witnesses around you to remind you of the things that you don't see that you started to count normal. I did this day in a life recently where Asia, who was video, and she was just like, man, Mom, like I really see that you carry a lot. And it affirms again, not that I needed it, it was just a cherry on top to remind me, like, as I sit in the seat of remembering and obedience, getting up to do the thing that the Father's called me to do, it's enough. And so I root and ground myself in the thing that the Father's telling me. I was reading in Matthew, it was Matthew 14 and 17 this morning. They're getting ready to feed the 5,000 and Jesus tells them, like, go feed them. You don't have to send them away. And they basically say, all we have is this. And the Father said, bring me all you have. It's like the thing that you're like, we only have this amount. He's like, put it in my hands and it'll become abundance. It'll be enough. And it was just so rich for me this morning. And so getting in your word where you read it in a way that it can be fruitful and edifying for your life. Not just, I just read Matthew 14. Like, I read it in a way that I wanted to see myself in the text. Like, what does God do when I look at my life and say it's not enough? He says, bring it to me and I'll break it, bless it, and make it enough. And so all of these things are a reminder to tell me, Jackie, just as you are, even with your physical limitations, he'll take it and put super on the natural.
I love that.
I don't know why, like, literally on the spot, like, I'm just thinking of the person who, like, doesn't have a business. They don't have all of these like extracurricular things going on. They probably just go to, work every day and come home. And I feel like I just wanted to remind you, like, that your all is enough.
That's
like
good.
whatever God is giving you right now, like, you don't have to make it more. God was saying to me this morning, like, there's nothing that I add to your life that you should feel like you were missing. Ooh. So like whenever God, does bring my husband, or whatever you do, it's not because I was missing it. Like, it's not because there was an empty place. That's or good. Like, there might be nights where I'm feeling, like lonely or whatever, but it's not because like I'm settled in the all that I have. And so whether it's more finances or whether it's a husband or whether it's another, job or whether it's a business that I want to start, it's not because I'm missing it. Like my life is full and I have all right now. So I don't, I just wanted to offer that perspective too to anybody that may be feeling like I don't even have all this stuff going on. Like your all is enough.
That's so beautiful. I feel like I think about all the different phases. Like, I remember when Dig Deep was like 50 girls. I remember when there wasn't a Dig Deep and it was just me and my friends. And we would just talk and we would, like, this was just at a regular table without microphones. Like, I found, and I really believe those are the people that God generally trusts to gain platform, because I didn't see it as too small when it was just me and my girls around the table. Like, when we were in college and it was just us shooting the breeze and sharing, I always continued to feel like whatever the Father was doing in my life, just for me, it was enough to share with somebody else. And I saw fruit then. Like, we still were growing then. I was learning God's voice without anybody watching me. And until you gain identity and satisfaction in that all, to your point, the rest of it will only be, it will almost be like a obligation or something that takes from you. If you need it, it's not a gift. And that's what you're talking about. Your husband can't be a gift if you need your husband. Like, my husband is a blessing. I didn't need him. I was blessed with him as a gift to add to my life. But my life in and of itself, in the seasons prior to him, were complete even without him. And so I really, really love that you brought that to the table. And one thing that I wanted to offer even before we close this is, I want every woman watching this to take a moment to just write down everything you do. It could be, why do I post these pictures? It could be, why am I so concerned about the weight that I have? It could be, why do I want my kids in this kind of school? Why do I want them dressed like that? Whatever thing it is that you're putting so much emphasis on, like, why do my hair have to be this length or whatever? Like, anything that you are doing, I want you to write it down, and I want you to sit with the Lord to ask him, God, is this because you have ordained this, you have called me to this, or am I doing this for other people in order to look like a thing? What I want to offer you, even before you do it, is you already are. Before you had the child, before you dressed in these label clothes, before you drove this specific thing, before you got this specific degree, you already are. If you could settle and rest in that, if you never ever stand on the stage, if you never ever get a microphone, if you never got a husband, if you never got a child, as you are enough. Being able to swallow that and not be cringing because I'm even coming for the things that are most precious. You can actually open your hands back up and say, Daddy, I give you all of this to manage.
So good.
And that's what it's really all about. Even as you have it or you desire and you hold the desire so tight to have it, you being able to release that and put the weight of that back on the Lord, it frees you in a way to live life more effectively and more freely. I pray that for every woman watching, that the weight of, God, are you going to ever bring him? That is weight in and of itself. God, is it too late? Am I too old? Will it ever happen? Will you ever be able to overcome this financial debt? Like, will you be able to ever do it for me? Like, it's not just the titles and the things we add that people can see. It's some of the emotional weight that we torment ourselves with,
so
that the Father is after with this episode. Sis, you cannot carry all of this stuff in your mind without the help of the Lord. You're going to have to invite him into some of those spaces to remind you that surely I can. I have a divine calendar with your name on it with specific things in every day of your life, and I've seen every one of them. He's not even behind. Like, your life is simply a rerun. And so I pray that you would believe that you would receive that, and that you would allow it to free you. I want to pray for the woman watching this that feels inundated with thoughts that are taking moment after moment, thought after thought. They're taking from your freedom. They're taking from your ability to just show up, to be freely who God has made you. The woman that is crying herself to sleep every night. The mama that is literally at her end. The mother that is single, that feels like she doesn't even know how to ask for help. I pray, Father, that in this moment, that right where they are, just as they are, that you will begin to highlight people, even if it's out of their comfort zone, that you will begin to show them how they can be able to manage more effectively by allowing you to show them different spiritual disciplines or different prioritizations of time. I'm praying for freedom. I'm praying for newness, God. I'm praying for you to lead them and guide them into a new way of life. You said that you came that we might have life and life to the full. And I pray inside of that fullness is freedom. That's what I desire for every single one of your daughters, because it's what you died for. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Hey, ladies, I pray y'all enjoyed today's episode. It was so fun.
Yes, make sure you are subscribing. Go ahead and subscribe and drop down in the comments. Don't forget to do the homework. So we got some homework assignment today. Make sure you do it, because we want to love to hear back from you guys. So subscribe, comment, all those great things. Stay connected.
And don't forget, we are definitely going to continue this conversation in Permission World, recap the message and all that good stuff. So make sure you join Permission World, which is Dr. Jackie's online Facebook community. There will be a link to subscribe in the description box below. Love y'all.
See you next time.